Hello, welcome back. Sean here, Mountains Garage. I had a few hours this beautiful sunny afternoon, mid-December, to work on the 64 Dodge Dart Turbo LS swap. In the last video, we got the engine sitting on the mounts. The transmission was already in place. That is where it's going to live. I only had a few more questions about whether things were going to fit. No question, the 64 to 66 A-body Mopars were really narrow and tight on space. To be honest, I don't even know how they got stock exhaust down past the torsion bar in the frame and the transmission. It's going to be a treat, but I think I can do it, to get one exhaust pipe off the turbo down past the frame and transmission and out towards the back. I want the car to be street legal, so a fender or hood exit probably isn't going to do it. I have to put my own inspection sticker on it, and I want to keep things legal, just the way I am. Trust me, it's somewhat intriguing to tuck an exhaust down out the fender. I don't want to go through the fender, but sometimes you can just let it out in the wheel well, and it works. Anyway, I spent a couple hours dragging in exhaust parts, because I have quite a collection of miscellaneous turbo junk from a few other projects. Last January, December, January, just about this time last year, I believe actually, I had got a wicked deal, $80 on the GT45 Turbo that I'm going to put on the Dart. I'd been looking for something to put all this stuff on. I went to buy one that day. Back about a year ago, they were $130 or $40 everywhere. And I saw one for $100. I didn't even look where it was. Paid for it. I get a message from the guy. He was a couple towns over. He says, hey, you'll save me shipping if you'll just meet me. I'll give you 20 bucks back. So for $80, I got a GT45 Turbo, which if you watch Richard Holdner, for a Chinese turbo, it's pretty respectable. It will top out at 700-ish horsepower. That's above the limit that I want. So with a T4 configuration, I can always change it if the mood ever struck me. That's way down the road. That's a lot of days between today and that decision. So the first thing I wanted to try on was the setup I built for the 72 Nova, just goofing around, mocking stuff up on there. I had bought this T4 log manifold. It's pretty rough. They're still for sale on eBay. I paid $287 during the beginning of COVID. They shot up over $800. Now they're back at $287. It's a rough piece, but it would work just fine. I questioned where the wastegate would be, because in theory it should probably be in this bend right here. I don't know how weldable this stuff is. A lot of people put them in the crossover pipe, and they claim that works as well. Seems like it would only dump one side, only dump the driver's side, because it's coming out of the driver's side manifold underneath and up into this one. But hey, I guess if you knock some pressure out of it, it's going to slow the turbo down. So anyway, I was hoping this would bolt right on. No chance without the torsion bar situation and the frame rails and the shock towers, especially the passenger side shock tower. I'll give you a good look here in a minute. The motor's a long ways over to the passenger side, and the transmission is in the middle of the tunnel. It's not like I made a mistake and accidentally put it 4 or 5 inches to the right, or whatever it is, 3 or 4 inches. It looks 4 or 5. So there's no way that this whole set is bolt on. I modified a truck manifold. I scabbed a bunch of pipe I had together for a crossover. It's not pretty, but it would work just fine. It's hodgepodge. Hey, that's what this car's got. That should be its name. It should be called Hodgepodge, because it's going to get all kinds of junk. So unfortunately, this was out. Then I logged in. Well, why don't I just show you what I did? Last summer, I picked these up in a trade. They're up and forward, or down and forward, but I was trying to mount them in the up and forward position. Somebody either moved or modified and did a terrible job welding those back on, but the rest of the header's never been run. I have a set of these on the 72 Nova. In fact, I'm going to cut one set back on the Nova, move the turbos close to the engine, but I was okay with running the up and forward. The driver's side, which should be the hard side, fit like a dream. And you've already seen, and I'm going to show you again, how butchered up the passenger side shock tower is when it had a small block Mopar in it. I would have to just about remove it to get one of these headers on. So the up and forward header was not an option. I already put this particular box back, but I have everything to make a stainless log manifold. I have the flange, all the Schedule 10 piping. I actually have 2 of them. But with the torsion bar situation, getting the driver's side over to the passenger side log, if I made a really tight log that hugged the engine, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I thought I might be having to head down that road. And then I thought, what about the old flipped truck manifolds? I'll take the car down off the lift to show you, but I'm just showing the situation with getting a pipe of some sort down through here because the torsion bar is right here. After 1967, they moved everything over a couple inches, giving you a big hole here. So I got a space when I come off the turbo, and I'll get something down through there, but snaking a crossover pipe with the steering box and everything in the torsion bar, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I was reserving that option. So I did, while I'm right here, get some tight radius fittings. It's a Jegs pan, so I bought Jegs fittings. They're also the cheapest. Read into that what you may. And the head of the fitting hits the pan, so I'm going to have to dent the side of the pan in a little bit so I can actually tighten these up. But it's going to make sure I have plenty of clearance on the steering. And along the same lines, you have to turn the wheel all the way to the right. But I did get a starter in there. It's just an old starter I dug out of the shed. But it clears. So technically, that was the last question I have underneath, whether I could make everything fit. And just like that, the upside down truck manifolds clear by a mile. Now, some people actually bolt on the stock flange. I'm not going to do that. I will cut the triangle pieces off and make a nice curve. This side will have to come this way. I'll give you a better look at that in a second. This side's just going to kind of go make a loop into the top of the T4 turbo mount. So, here's the center of the car. The radiator is a couple inches that way, and the motor, if you're looking at it here, is a long way to the passenger side. But what this did is create the perfect hole right here for that giant GT45 turbo. It's a good sized turbo though. Inner fender's like dented out on purpose for a turbo, and I can cut a hole right in the grill. I think I'm going to get fresh air into it. Tranny cool is going to have to go. Let's get a different perspective. On the driver's side, everything clears by a mile. It's easy working under the front to get to the spark plugs and everything. I'll have to run the wires underneath, but no big deal. I'll be taking the shield off, making that prettier. I love welding these manifolds. They weld like a dream. So that's not a problem. So I've got some mild steel Schedule 10 pipe coming, and I'm going to weld elbows right onto there, and I'll make it head that way, and then I'll put a V-band over here, so this will all be one piece. I'm trying to do the whole thing with one V-band, I think, so it'll make it over there. And on the passenger side, it was truly a problem solver. I'll be able to take that inner fender that I have out back and return this inner fender to original, get rid of all that ugly welding and whatnot, because it actually clears. It's easy to get off and on, easy access, tons of room back here. I am a fan of the flip truck manifold, and if you think it restricts power, there's many low 4-second cars running truck manifolds. So, also quoting Richard Holdner again, the dyno guy. If you don't watch him on YouTube, you should. Just get the air to the turbo. It doesn't matter how, and magic will happen. The car came with a brand new radiator. I just took it out of the box. I like how I had to tap all the holes, but you start the bolts in the bottom, the radiator is slotted, you can just set it in and bolt it up. That being said, I don't know if I'll be able to leave it here. I'm going to have to move it out here and maybe put the intercooler on this side of the radiator support. I haven't got the intercooler yet. It'll be here next week. Time will tell, but at this point anyway, it looks like I have a lot of room. I need to get, obviously, the coolant hoses, the intake pipe coming back from the intercooler, and the exhaust crossover all under here. So people have fit a lot more in tighter spaces, so I don't think it's going to be too difficult. I'm also excited, like I mentioned, I have mild steel Schedule 10 elbows and stuff coming. That means I can weld it any way I want. Not to worry about purging, nothing fancy. So if within the hustle and bustle of Christmas week coming up, Santa is able to deliver all my packages, I should have enough to definitely keep me busy. The beauty of this and all the other projects laying around here is any day you can kill a couple hours, hopefully accomplishing something. I got lucky this morning. I had to go to an appointment in a town I don't normally go to. It's about 20 minutes from here. In a pleasant direction toward the mountains. I always like that. And just before I left, I was once again on Marketplace, and there was 2 Turbo 400s, and I brought them back with me. I made one big loop. So I got to see some pretty scenery. My Garmin, which is pretty old, had me within 2 minutes of the destination where the transmissions were, and I'm at the end of a road looking at a bridge abutment, and there's no bridge. At some point, there was, but not today. Not for a long time by looking at the growth. So I'm sure you've been there. But I managed to find my way around, saw more beautiful scenery, and it all worked out. So I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Get out there and do something. If not, watch YouTube and be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I had to sneak it into the end. Take her easy.